Okay, Mbuyi,
Yes, Nos?
you good on your side?
I'm ready.
All right, okay. So just so that we do maximize our time, we're just gonna go straight into it. As you know, this is the lockdown chat with Nas and Mbuyi. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We do have people that may join in during the meeting, but what's most important is that we collect as much information as we can during this time. This is recorded, and so we share on our YouTube and all our social media platforms, and then also including a blog as well afterwards in written form. So today we're discussing PR, branding, and marketing, and we have our experts, Tracey Moodley and George Louis Mthembu. Thank you so much, guys. I'd like us to go into the details of the effects of lockdown in your industry and how vital it is for people right now to rebrand themselves and maintain their relevance throughout lockdown and going beyond. As I explained to Tracy earlier on in the week, we have people that are stuck indoors, they are at home, and they're lost with direction on where to go right now. There are businesses that are falling apart, and there are some businesses that are flourishing during this time. But for those individuals that don't know or how to start, how to market themselves without also bombarding people with an overload of information and what they're doing, but still maintain good communication with their relevant audience. So, welcoming you to the lockdown chat with Nas and Mbuyi. Mbuyi, take over.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you so much, Tracy, and thank you, George, for joining us. And welcome once again to the show. I am Wiselo Vilagazi, and as Nos has introduced me, well, this is one of the time that calls for each company to redefine their values and their strategies. Obviously, when a new year comes, companies and people also have resolutions, and also they have goals that they want to achieve. So my question, I would also start with Tracy, that how has this the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, affected you in your field? Yeah.
Okay, I think first off, I just want to say, from a PR perspective, I mean, I think it was a long time coming. The landscape for communication, marketing, advertising has drastically changed. And adding COVID to the mix, people at the beginning were panicking. And I think people are still panicking because they have no cooking clue what to do. But personally, with my clients, I have already started introducing my clients to the whole digital transformation for years now. So when COVID hit, it wasn't, we weren't really affected online with our brand presence because we already had presence. But some brands that have not already started with digital transformation are struggling right now. And then over the past few weeks, we've noticed that magazines, print media is closing, magazines, newspapers, and all of that. So I think now is a great time to start that whole evolution of communications, using it creatively and as a creative tool.
Thank you so much, Tracy. How about you, George? How are you affected by the lockdown restrictions here?
I'd like to start by saying, actually, so you made an example. So you actually gave me content you used Bill Gates as an example. So you said Bill Gates, if he had $1, he would spend it on PR. Fortunately and unfortunately, he's done a great job in PRing himself. But unfortunately, his PR campaign seems to lean towards not being ethical. So trying to capitalize on not ethical profit, but using the pandemic as a source of income. So we all know that Bill Gates is not an expert in medical field. So he's in IT and Microsoft. So all of a sudden, he has a solution to the whole world of this whole pandemic. So he's a typical example of what not to do also during crisis. So because I think in my understanding, that's, you know, as a marketer or as a brand that wants to remain relevant during this time, you need to be very emotional. Use emotion, take the emotional journey, you know, while you're trying to come up with solutions and resolutions, you know, during these crises. So I love the fact that you used Bill Gates. So it was a typical example. And as Tracey also said, you know, so brands is a healthy organism. So they constantly evolve. So you need to stay relevant. As human beings, our intelligence is known to the rest of other animal kingdom through adaptation. So we need to adapt through different transition with your consumers, with the world, in terms of how you then remain relevant in that particular time. Like Tracey said, you know, like online presence is big now. So you need to come up with like a lot of schools also that are mostly private schools. You know, it's almost like they had anticipated this will happen, because they, like, you know, straight away they went straight into the online schooling. So is healthy brands. You know, that you need to stay connected with your consumers, but obviously utilizing the online presence, seeing that the world is changing.
George, while you speak about relevance, during this time, I believe that everyone and mostly companies have to be very sensitive. And so how does one stay relevant without crossing the line, or without coming across as being less empathic, and also to not come across as a person who seems to be taking advantage of a very serious situation?
Well, without obviously sharing too much brand strategy, with a lot of what brands development happens, you know, behind closed doors. But I think as I said, you know, I made emotion instead of being seen as profiting during the crisis. So a lot of brands, even some brands in the pharmaceutical or in the medical field, you know, they want to sell their product, but without using the word COVID-19, because I know it then looks like you're capitalizing on the current situation or on the current crisis. So you need to then come up with solutions that will mitigate the situation without trying to look like you're milking, you know.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. For sure. I think we're part of a global community of humanity, if that makes sense. And right now we're so tired of listening to the same negative news constantly, that's an overload online, on TV, on radio. So I think as a brand, if you maybe reposition your brand narrative to show that you actually do care, and you're not MIA during this period, you stand with your community online and all of that.
Absolutely agree with that. So it's one of the pointers also I made when I was putting together the my notes for that was to make sure that you lead with purpose, and then in the power of your personal brand, and then reinventing yourself, or reinventing your product, or reinventing your message, and also creating pricing models that also will suit this current situation. Because people are going through a crisis, you know, financial crisis. You know, people are distressed. So also your pricing needs to be sensitive and need to speak to the current challenges.
Thank you so much, guys. Nos?
Yeah, I just wanted to add another question for George. You've had over 25 years experience working with multiple brands, and based in Durban, I know you've worked in a lot of activations and, you know, doing marketing for brands a lot through events. Knowing the lifestyle of Durban and Florida Road, a lot of things happen in person-to-person interactions, being amongst the people, being in the crowds. The changes that you've put in place now, I want if you could share with us some of the technological changes that you've put in place with the brands that you're currently working with. If you're able to share a few secrets with us on how you're still able to communicate the right message in the right way with your audience and still push sales.
I think just to answer that, my transition also in my work experience, that also has grown with my level of maturity. So as you said, you know, the 25 years of me in this industry, it has also I've also, as a personal brand, I grow also with my career. So back what I did 25 years ago, I definitely wouldn't do today. So what I've recently, you know, been trying to position myself towards is more brands or more organizations that will help me to serve my purpose. So right now, I'm a marketing director for Anikwa Khanya Foundation, which is it's a foundation that seeks to help previously disadvantaged kids in a township or in urban areas that they don't have access to funding. You know, so there's a lot of talent that we have in South Africa, but unfortunately, only the few selected kids they get to make it. You know, to compete nationally or even in international platform. So there's a lot of talents that get left behind. So I was quite, you know, quite excited when I got invited to be part of this organization, because it basically it resonates with who I am and where I am with my journey in my career. So I think to answer your question, it'll be to always looking at your core essence as a personal brand, and then whatever you then associate yourself with, there needs to be an alignment. So right now, the brands that I'm aligned myself with are brands that are helping and then accessing things that are not accessible to a lot of people, obviously, if that makes sense.
I get you. I understand. So it's not so much on selling a product. You're now impacting people's lives.
Absolutely.
I love that. Tracey, on your side, I know you've been online for quite some time. You've worked with brands and you push communication through social media platforms for events and corporates. You've been working on this for some time. What are the changes that you've had to implement to other businesses? I'm assuming they're very few for you, but I also know that if we can also talk about the new companies that you formed with partners, Synergy Creative, some of the strategies that you have in place, especially because Mbuyi and we've been talking a lot about collaboration. Specifically at this time, we need to collaborate with more people outside of our comfort zones and just grow ourselves beyond what we normally do. So we're really excited to hear of your plans with Synergy Creative and these massive changes that you've been doing during lockdown to survive and thrive beyond this pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, if you who starts a business during a global pandemic? I mean, who starts an agency during a global pandemic? But it's actually not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, because how Synergy was actually created was on the basis that there's two different agencies that have been working over the last year so well together. Our dynamics just it's amazing. We both share the same values and we're very, very passionate. So now we decided, well, it's time to help businesses out here that need help more than ever right now. People need to be out there, be communicating their narratives, their brand stories, and adding value. I think that's very important, to add value as a brand right now. And when the dust settles, people are not going to remember brands that were making a lot of money out of this whole thing. I mean, you've seen a lot of companies or stores or corporates getting slack on the fact that their prices have really escalated. So on that note, I think it's so crucial to be there for your community. And I'm not just talking an online community, or it's the community at large, your consumers, your clients, and all of that. And from a business perspective, some of my clients, I had to take a knock because they really can't afford marketing and advertising and PR right now. And for me, the most important thing is adding value to them and adding value to their clients. So yeah, we're excited about Synergy Creative. Our slogan, our tag is "Let's create together." And even though we're doing it apart, we're excited about what's coming. And yeah, we really excited about that.
Thank you so much, Tracey. You're speaking about adding value as a brand. It leads me to a question about how can, aside from interaction with the community, but what other ways are there for businesses, or especially young businesses, for them to be able to build long-term trust with their clientele and their stakeholders?
I think what you and Naz are doing is a brilliant example. I mean, you hear for the community, every week you introducing different themes, inviting different people at no cost, no charge. I think that's a brilliant idea. The fact that George is dedicating their time to be here online, that's another example of showing people that you care, that you adding value. So I think what's also important is that businesses need to provide this extra added service. For instance, as professionals, providing the basic advice, providing tips, sharing their story and what's happening on the inside, connecting with people on a human level. I hope that answers.
Yeah, it certainly does answers, and it echoes what George was saying at the beginning of the show there about being human and having a human tone. And thank you so much for that, Tracey. Back to George. George, you've been in the industry for quite some time. Right now, we see a lot of freelancers emerging. Can we say, freelancing in the PR space is the future, We see a lot of freelancers coming up, especially around this time.
I think it definitely is. So, like, Nos is aware that last year I had an agency. Well, it's still active. It's just one of the members, one of the collaborative members, became a director in another company. So obviously, her role obviously became more demanding that side. But what we realize is especially in the advertising and the digital space, it is pointless to have a big organization where you then have overheads. So all you basically need right now, so people follow people. So the relationships that I built all these years, it was people built that relationship with George, regardless of the companies or the brands that are represented. So, which then takes me back to the personal branding, the importance of personal branding. So, because then these are the kind of traits that will then help you to succeed in these kind of difficult times. So a lot of people are collaborating and creating synergies, to go out there and then share and utilize their expertise rather than hiding behind the company name. So the two ladies that I work with, but my background is also involves a lot of empowering. I love working with women because I love the work ethics that comes with them. So, and also I feel like they haven't had the right exposures in a lot of industries where they could excel in them. So the collaborative GHM Creatives was then born based on the previous relationships that I had with the two ladies that I worked with. So Mbuyi was one of them. So she's a social media strategist, and also journalist background. And then Happiness was a strategist and a designer. And then on my side, also the marketer and the big business development, and also an element of branding. So it made perfect sense for us to collaborate. And then it also puts no pressure on us, then, because our relationship is based on project to project basis. So if the more effort we put into getting business out there, the more we get out of that. So it becomes also a personal growth for each individuals while we're doing this. So to answer your questions, freelancing is the way to the future, as big brands not going to be able to sustain themselves, especially after this pandemic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, George. Nos, do you have something
Yes.
to ask? A follow-up question, maybe.
This question would be for both of our guests. Speaking of the future, what do you see as the new normal coming up from here? Because you both have had the experience of working on individual brands, and you've collaborated and you've worked with organizations. Seeing the changes that have been happening now, what has put us under pressure, how do you think things will unravel in the next 6 months, a year, or 2 years that will then become the normal trend for advertisers and marketers?
Do you want to go, Tracey?
Okay, sure. It's so funny. Well, it's not actually funny, but I was thinking about this, and we're heading into the fourth revolution, right? And it's as if Thanos had literally snapped his fingers, and here we are already in the fourth revolution, because we have to do everything virtual, from church to schools to business. I mean, every single thing you can think of is literally gone virtual. Meetings, and I think we will be doing a lot of things virtually going forward. And I think that's the space that as a business you need to invest in. So if like I said before, if you haven't done the whole digital transformation, now is the time to do so. Get on that ASAP. But before you do that, you still use human connection, because at the end of the day, people miss that. They miss that interaction with humans and on a face-to-face basis. So when you're telling your story, still keep human connection. That's it from me.
Just to echo into what Trace is saying, so especially on the especially in Anikwa Khanya Foundation. So right now, what we've realized is people need hope. People need a message of hope. So what best to do that is through dance. We are a foundation that is built on dancing. So we've put then our founder Anikwa Khanya Foundation, or Anikwa Mkabela, put a video together, choreographed the video, and with them following with the message, just to make sure that we keep that human interaction, also still using safety, in place. So, and we then we're hoping to go out and reach certain communities to share this kind of message through a dance, in a dance form.
Thank you so much, George. While on communication, there's so much fear from many companies during this time to communicate, because you might just say something and you might be quoted out of context. But how can companies around this time, and maybe there are also PR managers and who are also watching, how can one ensure that the communication is clear and concise, and also not subjective in any way, where one finds themselves in a hard position where probably they're quoted out of context, especially around this time, this very sensitive time?
You're right about that. So remember, when during situations like this, so consumers are very uncertain, but they're ready to hear a unique message, a unifying message. And as I mentioned earlier, using the emotional message that will resonate with the current situation. So,
Tracey, do you have anything to add?
Sorry, Tracey's muted. Can I just unmute you?
Okay, no problem. Okay,
Data.
Tracey, do you have anything to add?
What I've actually done is that I've put five tips. So it's a quick rundown of what I've mentioned. So number one, change your brand narrative to that shows human connection and one that cares. If your brand hasn't gone through digital transformation, you need to come up with a digital strategy and jump on that fast, because now more than ever, people are consuming information online. Show that you care as a brand. When the dust settles, people will remember the brands that showed up and stood beside them during these times. Be creative in the manner of you put out your communication, and add a bit of lightheartedness. As I mentioned before, we are inundated with bad news. So as a brand, if you can put something positive out there, like George said, give people hope, that'll be great. And number 5, be relevant and add value. State your cause. Don't hard sell your products or services right now, but show people that you can provide a solution that that can help them.
Thank you. Can you elaborate on that one, Tracey? I remember seeing a post before about not hard selling your product. Please, can you unpack that for us? What it means, what really happens when you hard sell, and what are the benefits of changing?
Okay, yeah. I think hard selling a product is constantly punting. Well, I've got lots of face masks and I've got hand sanitizers, and yes, you do want to get that out. But I think also coming up with a key message, a campaign that will enable you to put your product out there and see it right now. People are literally hard selling products. They buy a house, buy a car, but people will remember you if you rather tell a story differently about your brand. So for instance, if you are a property agent that wants to sell a property right now, think about what someone will remember you as a property agent. Maybe one of my clients have initiated a home-to-home initiative where during lockdown, you literally pack up all the stuff you don't need, and then after lockdown, it will be distributed to people in need. And that's a brilliant way to get a message out there and not constantly hard selling something. People will remember that brand and it will be on top of mind after lockdown.
I couldn't agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm actually, I'm noting everything you are saying, and we're really learning a lot. Thank you so much, guys, once again. Just to deviate a bit, right now I've been looking on my Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. There are a lot of virtual meetings, wine tastings, a whole lot of and other events that are virtual gatherings. Yeah. But there's just more virtual gatherings. So is there a future, especially to those who are events promoters in the future, and what direction they should be taking around this time and post the lockdown restrictions and post COVID-19 pandemic? George, you can start.
Well, I suppose it's going to be quite a challenge, especially for in an eventing. So in eventing, obviously, the event organizer has a meeting with the brand team of that particular brand that they need to put an event together for. So, and also depending what message the brand needs to set up, what are the objective of this speak that needs to be flexing the brand muscles or the brand personality of whatever brand they're activating. So it's then drafting what Tracey was saying. So brands need to then go back and redraft their communication strategy, keeping in mind that now there's going to be less of human interaction, but rather more virtual interaction. So even the message that it needs to be sold or needs to be told, it needs to be told in a manner that it's obviously for the type of medium that's then the brand is communicating through.
Thank you.
Tracey.
Okay, I'm going to be quick. I think people in general are literally hungry for a good night. Like they want to go out, they want to still party. I think virtual parties will be a thing. You know, getting together with friends after lockdown and having a virtual party would literally be a thing. But brands have to like literally restart, go back to scratch with their strategy, with their narratives. How will you even generate income from a virtual party? You need to still pay your headline acts. All of these need to come into play. So I think when we look at this as an overall thing, we can't look at it with a negative view. There's so much potential out there. And I think what's great about us is that we're resilient beings. We come up with new ideas. We constantly evolving. So we will get through this, and we will find innovative and creative ways to do it.
That takes me back to my point of adaptation. You know, we need to adapt and reclaim the intelligence that we always brag about as humans, that separates us from the rest of other animals. So adapt.
Wonderful. In closing, would you say, is there any such thing as overexposing yourself as a brand or as even a human? Just any warnings out there for brands or humans that will want to be social and personal about their brand and then overexpose themselves, their personal lives?
I think there has to be a mix. So if you, as a personal brand, it's great to put your brand out there, but you could also be a mother, or you could also be a dancer. So have a mix with everything that you're putting out onto social media. I don't think it should only be work. It should be lighthearted and be funny. People need some humor right now. Yeah.
That's very true. You know, as just to echo to what Trace is saying. So brand association. So as a personal brand, you also need to keep in mind, always be mindful of what other brands you associate yourself with, or where do you expose yourself. As Tracy is saying, you know, like you could be a mother, you could be a father. You know, you don't want to be seen promoting things that are against your personal values. So it's very important to where do you expose yourself.
Yeah, because I was also going to ask almost the same question that, okay, as we are speaking about redefining your objectives as a company and also as an individual, but how do you redefine your objectives without having to compromise, probably, especially if you're a company, without compromising your core values or what makes the company with, because with change, as much as the change comes, but one needs to be careful to not deviate and to move completely from what makes you who you are, especially as a brand.
I think it's also like you as a person, we can get distracted by a pandemic, and that can shock you, even you yourself as a human being. But I also believe, you know, with time as you grow, I mean, like George said at the beginning, you're not going to do the same thing.
Yeah, I think your brand identity will somehow evolve over the years, but your core values will always remain the same because that's how you founded the business, or you know, the specific company. So keeping in mind of your core values and be relevant and evolve. And it's okay to change your narrative, keeping in mind the value of your business.
I couldn't agree with you more. You know, it's whatever implementations that you have during this time or post this time. So you need to always remain, you know, with the essence of who you are, of what made you as a brand to even exist. So through desperate times or on time of boom, you need to make sure that you stick to your core values. Don't be caught doing desperate things, because people will always remember the wrong things that you've done.
Thank you so much, George, and thank you so much, Tracy. Can we get? I'm looking at the time. Can we get your final remarks, guys? Let's start with you, Tracy.
Okay, yeah. As I said, tell your authentic story, be human, humanize everything, and don't be afraid of change. It's okay. Change is okay. The new normal will be okay. We will learn to deal with it as organizations, as companies, as brands, and as people. So yeah, go forth with it on a positive note and do what you have to do to survive, but do it in an ethical manner.
I love that.
Any closing remarks from
I
you?
think my message pretty much. I said my message pretty much echoes to what Trace is saying. You know, so never look never lose your value system. You know, during this pandemic. So I think what you rather do is then go back to basis. You know, there's a lot of things that make us who we are, that we've forgotten through the business and busy chasing. So one thing that I've actually realized, or a word that I've realized that doesn't exist, that has actually been an illusion all this time, is the word urgent. The word urgent is an illusion. So during this pandemic, is actually I've gone back to a lot of things that I've always put aside, family, things that make us who we are, communities. So right now, a lot of things that I'm doing are heading towards building and putting the community together. And there's a lot of things out there that's we have similar kind of motives and what we're trying to achieve, but we've all been doing things in silos. So it is time now to identify those things and then creating a big one solid voice, unifying voice, obviously to extend to reach a bigger audience with more impact. If I can put it that way.
Perfect for me. Mbuyi, are you good?
Yeah. Also, yeah, also perfect from me. Thank you so much, guys. We really learned a lot today, and may you continue, guys, helping others to grow and also empowering others with knowledge. And we're also hoping future collaborations with you guys in your projects. And thank you from me. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you for having me, and you guys are doing great things. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. I've learned a lot. I've grown an extra inch from today. Take care, guys.
Yeah.